Hey guys, we are doing a demo in a few minutes at the Hootenanny with pasta making. So we're just recruiting people now, so we're going to see if we could get some people on our live here as well, and we'll take questions as we go if needed. And we'll see here, get a few people on and get a few people over joining us, and I'm going to switch it around to our live. Hi, Claire. So, Mike, you want to say what you're about to do in a few minutes?
Yeah, we're going to just teach a demonstration on making traditional hand-rolled pasta, egg pasta. It's going to be available for kids, adults, anybody who wants to learn, practice, play, bring some home.
And we'll take some questions as people join in.
Pasta questions.
So, I know people are still probably finding us. We have Claire, we have white picket fence here. We're starting to get some kids coming over.
That's fine, we can do it right there.
Yeah. So we are setting up for the pasta making demo at the Hootenanny. Let's see if there's anybody who wants to say hi as we're gathering people at the Hootenanny. Mike, you want to say hi?
Hi, how's it going?
This is Part-Time Permies Live. We're
on Part-Time Permies Live.
You no. Oh no. So Mike and Jenny, this is your Hootenanny.
Yes, no, this is all of yours. Hootenannies. We found a place and invited a bunch of people to bring food, and they did so.
Yeah.
But we're having a great time. There is a lot of people here.
Yeah, there are.
There are.
Yeah, so I guess he's got a few people over, so I am going to go over if anybody has questions on the pasta making as we go.
I'm going to be over there in 2 seconds. I've got to go over here real quick.
Okay.
Thank you guys for coming.
High protein coarse ground flour. And all good pasta is usually made with semolina. Yeah, you can grab it. It's yellow, it's unbleached, and it's a little high.
You can get one ball that covers both of them, but it's like $50 for that.
Got some commercial equipment, and it's a little more difficult. I only use this. But when you make it at home, you can use all-purpose flour. It's all-purpose, right? You can do anything with it. But it's going to not be as chewy and as nice as if you have the opportunity to make things. This is a little hard to work with. This one's a little soft. You blend them 50-50. That's kind of your perfect balance and ideal situation for most of your hand-rolled flour. A lot of the grocery stores, or like if you have a health food store that has bulk bin flours, they're going to have either regular or organic, and it's called Double Zero and Semolina. They're both from the same Durham wheat. Same wheat, it's the grinds are different. And I have about 15 of these set up. They're 1 pound bags. If anybody wants them, they're $3. Take them home. They're just a extra setup, and then you add them. So we have a handout. I got about 25 of these. They're free for anybody who wants them. It has a basic pasta recipe, real simple, and on the back it has a super simple fresh marinara. As we're getting into the fresh ripe tomatoes, this is the only time of year you want to use fresh tomatoes. After that, by can, because they're not sweet enough, they're not concentrated, and you really want the August, September, October tomatoes because otherwise they're watery. So we have these 2 recipes, and very simply, I'll show you how simple. I'm going to do a big demonstration for a bunch of teachers on this actually in a couple of weeks. But very simply, for a half-pound batch, it's about 2 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk. For a 1 pound batch, it's roughly 5 eggs. And you can get fancy, you can mix it in a mixer, but I wouldn't do more than a pound. Even in a KitchenAid, you'll break your KitchenAid. It's too stiff. It's a very, very stiff dough. So,
What about a commercial mixer?
Commercial mixer, if you have a 20 quart or a heavy duty bread mixer, you should be okay. But watch, don't go over a few pounds and make sure it's really for a bread dough because it is stiffer than a bread dough.
I have a question for everyone. Can everyone hear him? No.
Oh, I can make more noise. So for this half-pound batch, what I basically want to do is make a well. This is going to hold my eggs. and I want to leave a little bit of flour on the bottom so that there's room. If I lose it and the eggs start running across the table, that's okay. We brought some eggs from home actually, so these are our natural eggs, and I got some free-range eggs from a local store. So we got lots of eggs here. Oh, you got a double yolker. So what I'm going to do is start out with this. It's a half-pound batch. The eggs don't work out evenly, so what I recommend is 2 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk, or maybe 3 medium eggs if you're buying medium eggs. So I'm going to start with this. By the way, so I've sanitized the table. I do have hand washing, water soap, and pump soap and all that, so anybody wants to do this, they're more than welcome to wash up your pasta once you're done with it. So, you know.
It's going to be bold. So.
I do have some little baggies. That means if you've got a cooler here or you're going home today and you're not that far away, no big deal. Just take it home, throw it in the fridge. Lasts about 2 days, then it really kind of breaks down. If you're staying overnight and got a cooler, that's great. And if you just want to make it and throw it away or give it away, that's fine too. So pasta flour and doing this is pretty inexpensive overall. So it's a good activity to practice, and if it isn't perfect, it's not the end of the world. So what I'm trying to do is just get the eggs coming into the flour, and this pasta dough should be, you can make it too stiff, but it's going to be pretty stiff. So think a little stiffer than bread dough. It's going to be kind of hard to knead, and we're going to bring it together. And if I find like it's too dry at some point, I will not use this as a sanitizer. I will use a few drops of water, or I could even put in I could put a little more egg. But surprisingly, as it kneads out, it does soften. So the goal is to bring it into a tight ball. It should not stick to your hands at all. It shouldn't stick to the counter. We've got little extra bits of flour if we find it's too wet. And then once we get into that nice ball and works, we're going to let it rest. Maybe 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. That allows the structure of the gluten to relax. And if you've ever done a pizza crust or a bread, you try and roll it out and it keeps stretching and then coming back. That's because it's tensed up and you need to just leave it alone for 10 minutes. So we'll let it sit, and then that'll allow us to roll it out. I have nice rolling pins, and we'll see if how this table does for rolling. And then we'll roll it as flat as we can, which will not be extremely thin. So at home, you do old style noodles like my great grandmother did, and that'd be a farmhouse noodle. So, you know, farm style noodle, or sometimes it's kind of like the Irish or Amish or whatever, you know. So you just cut it by hand, roll it it's like pie crust. You think you got it thin, and it's not nearly as thin as you think. So, and then you can hand cut it into ribbons or squares. Those are sometimes called dumpling noodles, like German dumpling noodles, or one form of, some people even call it like a form of a spatzel. It sort of is in one area of Germany. So that's a country style, and it's going to take a long time to cook, and it'll hold on to your chicken or your beef, and it's pretty satisfying. It's not an Italian noodle, which is much more refined. Now, I do have a pasta bite, a little hand crank over here, and I can show you how to stretch it out after we roll it out a little bit. We can stretch it out, and this will only cut 2 sizes. Well, I'll do a wide strip for a lasagna or to make a ravioli, but then you can also cut like a fettuccine or kind of a spaghetti, and that's all it does. So just if you're interested in how you get shapes, you press them, get a little different. And if you're making shapes, if any of you did the old style like Spritz cookies that you put in the little tube and you press it out with the mold and cut them up, kind of like that is actually how we make the shapes. But you can't make those shapes at home as much. This dough should be nice and yellow in about 2 to 3 days. If you start seeing it turning gray, it's sulfur and the compounds in your yellow egg yolk, they're starting to break down, and it's probably not bad for you, but it's losing its quality, and that's why make it, freeze it, or use it in 1 to 2 days, throw it away. It's because of the egg. Now this pasta dough can be dried. If you cut it and you want to lay it out on sheet pans or hang it, you can try and dry it. No guarantee that it's going to dry all the way. If it doesn't dry all the way, it's going to mold at some point. Maybe in a week, maybe in 3 weeks. That's the hardest part of making dried pasta, and if it dries too fast, it's going to crack. If it dries too slow or not completely, it molds. It's always a challenge, but it is possible and it is considered safe. In fact, in Michigan, you can make dried homemade pasta under cottage law, and you can actually sell it.
If we can in Mississippi too.
Yeah, not every state has different cottage laws, but in Michigan, it is one of our 11 categories that is sellable out of your home kitchen. But it's very hard to get it consistent, and the amount of work you have to do, it may never pay for itself. So don't feel like, you think about it, it's dry, and then it's cooked, it's boiled, right? I wouldn't eat it raw. But once you boiled it, you're pretty safe. So, have you heard of a recall on pasta anytime recently? Anybody dying from pasta? Not really. So understand that even though we're using farm fresh raw egg, the way we handle it and the way we cook it, now would I sanitize my table, clean my hands when I'm done? Yeah, but it's a good activity for. So this is getting close to what I want, where it's just kind of movable. It's like bread dough, where I'm developing the structure, making sure it's well moved around, and using the palm of your hand and some body weight to really press into it. And so it becomes laborsome, and well, that's a lot of work. It's kind of hard, and the kids get used to it, and we try and do it as adults sometimes. We go, well, I can't believe how you do it. And then you get this 80, 90-year-old grandmother who just whips it out because she's been doing it her whole life and has. If you do it once or twice a week, you have that arm strength to bake bread, make pasta. It's just part of life. So this is pretty close to the way I want it, where it's not sticking to anything. I don't see a lot of loose flour. And at this point, I either want to get a little plastic wrap. Your biggest concern is it's going to dry out during that 10 or 15 minute rest period. It's going to dry and it's going to get crusty. And if it gets crusty, it's really hard to stretch it out and roll it out. I feel like a lot of times when I do these demos professionally, I have one ready to go. I didn't make one today. I don't want it too big of a ball because when I roll it, the next step to roll it out, I don't want to stretch those glutens too much. I want to be able to make it as wide and as possible, as thin as possible without it coming back on me. So we'll leave it something like this. And you're putting in a simple bag, a towel, if you like a cloth towel that's clean and very lightly moist and wrung out, just like your dough. Grab a bag.
And I apologize for the people on the live show. It's really windy today, and do what we can do.
Sit in a bag.
Yeah.
So again, damp towel for a few minutes or in a bag. Ideally a little bit out of the sun. Got a whole bunch of rolling pins. I do recommend you can do all the fancy rolling pins. These style of pins are the best because you just get your hands out of the way, you put a lot of pressure on it. It's kind of what you'll see in the Asian, noodles or making dumplings and everything. You got a lot of control. The old buildings in Italy, whatever. This is actually a great rolling pin.
What is it?
This is a 1 3/4 inch dowel. $5.50, cut them in 3 pieces. They're a couple dollars a piece. Of course, anytime you have a rolling pin, don't wash it. It'll rot. If it's sticky and has stuff on it, just use some flour and scrub off that egg and that stuff, and then put it away and it dries nice. It'll last a long time. Again, wood is sanitary as long as it doesn't have molding on it. It's totally sanitary. Put it away and then go back and roll your next lean dough, your bread dough, your pie dough, whatever. So good. I'll let this rest for a few minutes. I could take at least 4 people, maybe 5 people that want to make a little piece, and then don't forget I have all the directions here that anybody who wants to make it or not, please
Pass it around.
email us. We're happy to send you an email with that sheet. It's nothing too fancy. I stripped all this down as simple as can be. It's cost effective. Anybody can do it in their own kitchen. So, and if you got your own eggs, even better. But if you don't, just get the eggs that you always do. Cooking, one other thing to talk about, it's going to be a little softer than, and when pasta is fresh, it's hydrated, it's got liquid in it. That means it doesn't need to expand like dry pasta and take 10 minutes to cook. It'll cook in 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. So watch your time on it and make sure you have a really high boiling water so it doesn't get gummy. And if you do that, you pull it out hot and you quick drain it off, don't need to rinse it, and then put it in your sauce, you're going to have amazing pasta.
Did you say that it takes longer to boil or not as long to
Less.
boil? Less?
2 to 3
oh,
minutes
fresh.
when it's fresh versus a dry pasta, which could take 8, 10, 11 minutes.
I've made some before, and it seemed like, but I dried it, and it seemed like it took longer than regular store-bought pasta to dry.
It's thicker. Yeah, it's thicker.
yeah.
So it will. In my pasta, because I use a higher quality ingredients,
Yeah.
organic flour and things, it takes about 1.5 minutes longer than your 10-minute classic store-bought, which just has a different formula.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's, and it will never have quite the same chew. You can get it al dente, but it will not have that extreme chew. Fresh pasta is its own style, and some people love it. Some people, they'd rather have a dry pasta. That's a personal choice. Yeah. All right, who wants to make pasta? Here we go. So we got bags of pasta, another bag of pasta. I can take 1 or 2 more people. Over here, I can take 1 or 2 more people.
Anyone else want to make some?
I'll make pasta.
Hey, you're going to join in.
Get some of this stuff out of the way.
And again, apologize for the wind. This is on cell phone, not on the regular camera. So, but if you have questions for Mike about making pasta, if you post them in the chat, I'm not in the chat room to chat, but I can relay your questions to Mike. So anybody here want to make, have questions for Mike on making pasta, please feel free to type them in the chat. So, Mike, you want to say anything to the live? We have a few
how many
people on the
people we
live.
got out
About
there?
7 right
Okay.
now. There's a number who are on Two Families live right now
Oh,
too.
great. Yeah.
So, and it
well-
is windy here, so the wind is affecting the microphone. I apologize.
Questions would be
Questions.
if anything related. We keep it mostly to pasta or simple
Yeah.
sauces on kind of base level. We'll do that.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're gonna do here is you're gonna kind of make a well, and then once you get a well and don't go all the way to the bottom, you're gonna put. Let's do 3 eggs. Or if you got these little silky eggs, you can do 3. If you got big eggs, let's start with 2, and then we'll maybe put a yolk in and not the white. The white will just kind of dump it back in the carton. All right.
Tim Beverly asked me a question. How's the baby doing? Not a pasta question. Baby's doing all right. Yes. And Grandpa's Farm Rides Again says hello to all the kids. The kids want to say hi on live. You want to say hi? So, and you guys enjoying yourself.
There you go. And it starts running away. You just
Your shells are so hard.
we got good eggs. We got good chicken.
Yeah, I guess we have chickens with a lot of calcium.
Ours are open forage right now. We move them once a week. And yeah, those are. By the way,
The silky chicks' eggs are a little harder to.
scoop that yolk out. I grabbed that. So the quality of the eggs will definitely make a better quality pasta.
There you go.
However, you can use any old commercial egg, it's fine, but when you get your hands on good eggs, you will notice the difference. All right, so what you're gonna do, we'll get the shell out of here, that's the most important.
So she's
And
got.
then you can take a little flour, and maybe we can we'll
There
push
you
it
go.
over there, and I have a little extra flour here that
You
if
can
we-
rescue the one you got on the side. Yeah. There you go.
There you go. Now you can start moving around with your fingers. Your fingers are gonna get messy at first, but all that mess is gonna come off your fingers by the time you got it together.
Yeah, those silkies have hard shells, I will say.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even silkies.
Yeah, the other ones too, but the silkies are even harder, I think, to get
They
into.
eat well. We've got all kinds of food.
Stealing food because she's going, so she's gonna leave some.
Okay,
Oh, you
okay.
want me to run over that?
Yeah, sure. That would be
All
great.
right. And some people use a fork to do this. It's fine to do it with a fork, but fingers work great.
Yeah. So it's time to get messy. It's like making Play-Doh or something, right?
Yeah.
Getting that egg all worked in there.
Oh, I've never worked with 00. Is that what
Okay,
it says?
yeah, 00.
And the semolina, I've never, I've
Semolina and 00. It's
I've made pasta at home, but
Yeah.
I just use Play-Doh flour. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in looking at the store and see if I can find
those types, yeah.
to make a better quality.
Yeah, they're both Durham wheat, so they don't grow Durham in Michigan. They grow them like more in the plain states, a little bit drier areas. Yeah, we'll get. Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, so he's gonna put some water in it, but. There you go. Those silkies are hard to crack into. There you go. So mixing it all up. Hey, Tim Beverly says, tell Patty to worry about tomatoes. Tomato queen.
Hey, Tim Beverly, I actually brought these people of Michigan tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, and if you're nice, I might bring you one
Awesome.
in October.
In October. Yeah, our tomatoes are just starting. Like, we have some cherry tomatoes that just start ripening on the vine, so I'm like excited about
Mine
those.
just finished. I picked,
Okay.
For Colleen, we talked about tomatoes and everything, and I brought her some tomatoes, and I picked my last tomato.
Okay. Ours won't end until we get our frost.
Oh, really?
So we'll go straight up to
The
frost.
heat got out.
Yeah.
You know, it's different.
Yep, different climate, completely. The other project we have going that Mike's doing in the background there is he's making some tea, regular tea, iced tea, with, I think he's doing green tea, mint, and maybe some black tea in there as well. English breakfast tea. It's all honey and Sons tea, but he also came with some sumac berries, and we're gonna flavor the iced tea with sumac. So instead of with lemon, you pick the berries and soak those. Yeah.
When we were here last year, I saw Mike and Jimmy have sumac.
Yeah.
And he thought, he was under the impression that was poisonous, what it was, but I'm almost positive it's what we have that's got the lemon flavor. So I need to find out if Mike has since identified that.
Yes,
No,
it's
because
staghorn.
it was at his house.
It is staghorn sumac. He posted a picture on his webpage in the group.
Okay.
It is definitely, if it's got the fuzzy red berries, the poisonous one actually has white berries.
Okay.
So-
I told Mike that because I've done the tea one time.
Yeah, there are some smooth sumac that don't have fuzzy berries. They have red smooth berries.
Yeah.
And we have some of those too. They're not ripe yet. But those you can use the same way, and they will develop. You'll see a little bit of a white film on the berry.
Yeah.
It's that white film that is the sour part. That has like the citric acid and malic acid. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's citric acid.
It's citric and malic acid, so that's why it tastes lemony.
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know what it was. I knew it was lemony. I didn't
Yeah. Let me see. Actually, if you guys want to say hi to Lisa Sutton real quick, I will pull it over and we'll say hi. Lisa, you want to say hi live?
Hi, live.
We got a few people in the room coming and going. You got pasta. You got your pasta.
I got my pasta.
They might need help with the next step, Mike.
Yes, I will get.
Okay. So I'm bouncing
We're
around.
just on our way. We're on our way out now.
Okay.
We gotta head back up.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a
4.5 hours.
Yeah, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So-
hard being a passenger.
You can always sit in the back.
I know, and he's in the back.
That's funny.
It's not
No,
efficient
but
to
it's
drive
good to
3
see you
cars.
guys.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys
Good to
too.
see you guys.
So,
Definitely pick up some pasta, you guys.
thanks, Lisa.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, see you around. So we'll go back to the pasta table. Yeah, you got a few more people starting too.
All right, cool.
Okay, we're gonna open
So if it looks like if you needed it for a few minutes, it's still a little dry, we'll just give a couple sprinkles of water. And so what's nice about 5 eggs and 1 pound of flour, it comes out almost perfect.
in the middle. Okay.
This is a half pound, so it's a little harder to get that.
Okay, look. See what she did? You have to make
The other thing
that.
is winter is
And
dry,
then
and
you
your
put
flour is
like
going to
you
be dry, and
two
you're
big
going to need
eggs
more
in
water
one
and
little.
eggs.
You put
Summer could
3
be more
eggs.
humid.
And if they're big,
Two big ones and a little one.
Same situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Kids are teaching the next
That's
round.
great, that's how you do it.
Hi, Green Gables.
Yeah, so
Did you guys hear this?
kneading it for another minute or two. If it doesn't come in to a drier dough, we'll just put a little flour with you on the table.
Okay, here we go. Ready? We gotta crack the egg. Yeah, you don't just put the whole egg.
I actually have a KitchenAid.
Holy
And, I
mackerel.
have the dough attached.
Yeah, they have hard shells.
So but I haven't made pasta with it yet. Tell
And
me
that-
what it is.
yeah.
That was a tough
I would do no more than a
Where do you
pound
want
of
the
pasta
eggshell?
dough with a KitchenAid.
Mike, can you grab the carton for the eggshells?
Yes, we got some right here. It's got more shells?
Yep, we got more shells. Lost one shell.
Yeah, I would go for the commercial. You could try no more than a pound.
We have hand washing right there.
And I would watch it closely as soon as you start.
This is soap.
Oh,
Here, I got that.
If you're doing a 2-pound loaf, you're pushing it on a KitchenAid.
More than that.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah. No, I'm getting. You're gonna have that. Well, about 2 pounds. About 2
Anybody have questions about the pasta
Yeah.
online?
okay, here we go. Oh man, look at this, Nolan. I got a terrible job.
I just got a 24,
Yeah.
24 got a Unox.
Okay, start mixing it up.
Yeah, I got a 24 Unox, about $600. Pretty heavily used, but it's in good shape.
It's really
They
bad.
just replaced the
But
belts
they,
on
look
it.
how now.
I'm not using it much, but I.
All right.
So it'll go up. Just
Okay.
I use an extruder.
There you
It
go.
looks like a grinder, and that's a
lean your weight
specialty.
on it.
Yes, she did pay attention. She is now
But it
teaching the
effectively
class.
has tines and mixes very much like a bread mixer.
She's doing a good job of it too.
Than bread. I couldn't even put it
Modeling
in
classical education right now.
bread maker.
All right, we need eggs for you.
That's looking pretty
Oh,
good.
you need more eggs over
A
here.
couple eggs.
Thank you.
All right, let's get a little water in there.
Yeah, mine needs
These are the hardest things.
me too.
It's gonna be amazing. You look like you don't need water.
And I got a shell box.
Oh, awesome. I've got a lot of things.
Much water. It's surprising how little water it takes.
Either 2 big ones in a yolk or 2 big ones in a little one, I think seems to be working.
Hey, Gracie, go grab. We need another egg.
One more egg
At
over
least one more. They're right down here.
down at the end.
And then you can come.
Yep.
All right, Nolan.
Because there's going to be water in there too.
Just keep mixing it up, and just like I said, your fingers will be a little bit messy,
Okay.
and then I'm not messy.
You're a lot messy, aren't you?
The nice thing is it all starts to come together. Your hands are going to become unmessy.
Yeah. That's what she was saying.
I haven't washed my hands from when I did the demonstration. I don't have
Much on them yet anymore.
Do you want to do your own, or do you want
If your hands are still messy, you better add more flour. All right.
So you're just going to keep mixing?
So, Patty's done with hers. How are the others coming?
Because at some point you get your hands in it.
Yeah.
You just get it caked, and I wouldn't. It was so
It's like
funny.
folded.
It's
I got used to doing it.
as bread baker. I don't bake a lot of bread. Commercial bread bakers like to work very, very wet because the loaf comes out much nicer. So,
You
but
still
it's
need
difficult, and you do get better and better at it.
Yeah.
So
But I just was something I never even thought about. But then watching you, let's look at your hands.
Yeah.
Hands and look at my hands.
well, you can do a little of that.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
It's very
But he's the expert. I'm not.
funny thing is I don't make egg dough like this. I
Yeah.
teach it all the time, but my process is not this process. So this is actually kind of fun because I don't do much. It does make a very good dough. Yeah, and then so like commercial bread dough, the sort of golden, formula is you get that 80% hydration. So 80% water to 100% flour, and that's very wet to the point where it's very hard to gather it up. You got to put it in a proofing basket because it won't hold a loaf.
Right.
But you get this amazing structure, and that a lot of times you have to put it through 2 steps to get it to absorb the water. So you put in most of the water, most of the flour, and then you go back and add a little more of the flour, a little more. And Stefan's actually quite an expert on doing it.
Oh yeah.
And then you get up into like ciabattas and some of the really loose stuff, and you go almost like 85%. That's almost impossible to work by hand.
I'm playing with a recipe right now that I'm really learning. It's a very basic recipe.
Did they need to do anything different?
Eventually we'll get keep adding more flour.
Yep. Keep pulling the flour
I
in.
think I'm ready for
All right, so you're gonna press that out as flat as you can get it, and then we'll grab a bag from right here, and we're gonna rest it for about 10 minutes. I think mine is almost ready to show you.
How about me?
Yeah.
I think the same thing. Press it down as wide and flat as you can get it. You might be a little.
Still working it in.
So I think what
You can
wanna
pull
do
some
is
of
work it in.
pull some of this flour
Where you
into
kind
it.
of roll
There you
it
go.
back, and it's going to come in, and it's going to go from that white to the yellow, but it feels soft enough. Good.
Hi, Jenny. Are you live or are you
No, just taking a video, watching the kids.
for later?
You might need a little more flour.
Yes, that's a little sticky here.
I got some flour open.
This one.
That one's open, so we're gonna just give you a little flip. Here's a bag. We'll use this bag again after we cut it into, when we get it smoothed out, we'll put it back in that bag to finish it. All these goodies in here. So the key, when the traditional Italian pasta maker, the grandma that's been doing it since she was probably about 10, sure, you can wash your hands right here.
Getting more kids involved in the pasta making.
Water there. Towel up here. So the key is when you make this to get the perfect amount and balance, you got to get all your little bits that are floating around, got to get in there. Otherwise your recipe doesn't work. So my dough is pretty much the same as yours, but it feels softer because it's relaxed, and that's good. That means I'm going to be able to roll it out. So I'm going to just get a little flour, and I'm going to put it on the table. Otherwise, everything will stick. I'm going to put just a little flour on here because I don't want it to stick to the table. All right, you can put that in the bag. Let it rest about 10 minutes.
Come right back to it.
What I'm going to do is gently roll it pretty much in one direction. Try and get it pretty thin. And this table, because it's not a wood table, has a little give. It actually makes it a little harder, but it's got a strong enough table. I don't think we're going to break it. I've had to do projects like this on these tables before, and we're like, oh, it's not like having a steel table or a wood table, but it works pretty well. So what you do when you make this pasta is you don't ask your mother and you use a good dining room table. It's a good hard table. Maybe not. All right.
Or your countertop.
Or your countertop. You gotta, yeah, any countertop, clean kitchen countertop actually works pretty well. All right, so there's two things I can do. I will show. So one option, this is the homesteading farmhouse style. You don't need any tools. You did your hands. You got a rolling pin, or you can even use a can or a heavy glass bottle to do this. You roll this as thin as you can get it by hand. Maybe if it gets too hard, we let it rest again. We roll it more, and then we're going to cut it into strips, as thin or thick as we want. And that's going to be for like classic chicken noodles, beef and noodles, and it's amazing. It'll be thick and a little chewy, but it'll have great flavor. The other thing, after I get this rolled out a little bit, I'm going to show you how we can make it even thinner, going through what's called a pasta bicycle, because we crank it like you're pedaling a bicycle. One of these you can get online or at a store. Sometimes they try and charge you too much. Shouldn't pay more than about $35, $40 new, and you can find them a lot of times for $15 or $20 online, or maybe $5 at a garage sale. Because a lot of people buy them and they think they're going to make pasta, and they don't. But do two things when you buy these. Make sure you have the anchor here, or you got to get some type of clamp. Make sure it has the crank, and make sure there's no rust. They will rust up and they will not crank their trash. So these, you never wash them. If they get sticky because the dough is too wet, you add flour, and you just add white flour, and you just crank the flour on there and you clean it with flour. And then you put it away in the box, and next time you get it out and you dust it off. And so never ever wash it. You can put it in the trash if it doesn't dry off. Now if it's an old metal one and you do happen to get it really wet, somebody decides to wash it. That happens a lot in restaurants, dishwashers, somebody new. If it's all metal, you might be able to stick it in the oven on low heat and try and quickly dry it out. That's the best you can do. So no oil, no water, just flour. I've had this one for over 20 years. I don't use it a lot, but it's in great condition. So Atlas, well, this is Mercato, but Atlas.
This is Atlas.
Oh, it is Atlas, yeah. So Atlas is one of the big producers in Italy that makes this one. You can get a bigger one this size. more money, you can actually get ones with motors on them. You can get a big, beautiful one for a restaurant. It's $1,000. And they do sell a little attachment for your KitchenAid that will do this, and it's pretty good. Pretty good. I think that's $45 or $60. But if you have a KitchenAid, you want to do it that way. That's not a bad method. It's just a little smaller. I think it's this long. I like the hand crank. All right. I'm gonna grab me a cutting board.
One of the white ones there.
I just clean those off and sanitize them.
Aim High says she has the KitchenAid hookup and it works great for her.
Yeah. Extruder hookup, if anybody has extrusion or pressing, I am very skeptical. I've heard sort of mixed opinions, but if anybody's actually used it more than a few times,
What is that?
The extruder on the
that
KitchenAid.
presses it, I'm concerned it doesn't press enough or that it's not going to be very sturdy. If anybody has it and really loves it, let me know. But I'm skeptical of that. The crank style cutter, I know that one works. It's a good attachment. You have the okay. You have the. All right. So this is getting.
Wow, that wind. Pretty thin there.
Pretty thin, and so I didn't make this fancy. But actually, so I'm trying to actually keep it going in one direction because I don't want to stretch the gluten in multiple ways. It'll get firmer. So another trick you can do. And actually double roll it. So this is only less than half of my dough. So we're talking about less than a quarter pound of pasta, of flour, plus the eggs, which is 5-6 ounces of eggs. And so this is going to serve 2 people generously because it's going to double in size. It'll puff up when it goes in the water. And so this is a kind of a rough, what we call a pappardelle or a ribbon. We can do things like this, that if you're really hardcore, again, doing the home style, homestead, sometimes the German Amish noodles, people will cut them like this, and this is what they'll do, a beef and noodles or something like this. You can also, you can be careful and get it. I have a short knife today, but I can
Get really thin.
I can get really short, thin ones. These will still puff up pretty big. They're bigger than you think. So there's a lot of methods, but and that's what our egg dumpling noodle. We're mimicking something like this. We're trying to make it extra thick. Doesn't meet the standards of a traditional Italian pasta, but I'm not Italian. I grew up in the Midwest here, and I had grandmothers and great-grandmothers that made things like this, and people still talk about it long after they've been gone about how good it was. And so this is sort of in remembering that style, and I think this is an amazing meal. Summer, winter, it doesn't matter. In fact, I remember a bunch of family on my dad's side would get together in southern Michigan on a lake, and they did beef and noodles. They'd simmer a brisket all day till it almost falls apart. You throw some vegetables in towards the end, and then the last hour or so, you put the noodles in, and during a camp and everybody getting around and doing great grandma's, beef and noodles, or throw some mushrooms in, or roasted, whatever you got. It doesn't matter. Chicken and noodles.
Are they ready to flatten theirs?
Yeah, so if you have almost everything in there and that looks pretty wet, you're going to press it into a pancake as thin as you can by hand, and we'll put one of these bags. So these are ready. So I could cook them right now. I could refrigerate them for up to 2 days. I would like to put them in a bag so they don't dry out too much. I could lay them out on a single sheet and try and dry them. You put them on a dehydrator, but I'd be careful on a dehydrator because it dries too fast, it'll crack. Pull apart, and these will freeze. But if you're going to freeze them, I would generously coat them in some extra flour, put them in the freezer, take them out of the freezer when you're ready to cook it, and directly go from frozen into your boiling water. Otherwise, when they thaw out, they're going to get really gummy, and they're not going to be good. They will cook from frozen perfect. And we actually cook some samples up if I get some water on, but I'm going to show you how to Now, how to use the pasta bike.
So guys, I actually don't have a wind mic on this. This is cell phone, and I'm gonna have to change angles here.
And I'm left, so this is going to be interesting. Let's scoot this down a little.
It's clamped to the table right
Yeah,
now.
it's
So.
easy to be clamped to a table securely. You can put some blocks of wood on and make sure whatever table you're using, if it is your good dining room table, that you're not scarring and denting it.
Yeah, put a block of wood between the clamp and the table, and probably on the other side too.
And, yeah. You may be making grandma noodles, don't ruin her table. I have my grandfather's table, so
Yeah.
I would not be making this under that table. So, yeah. There you go. There's a bag. All right. So there's two sides. This is the thinning side, and this is the cutting side. You only use this at the end. I open it all the way up to number 1, which is as big as it gets, and I kind of jam it in there and see what happens. It'll be kind of tough the first. And if it gets sticky, if I find this dough's a little wet and gets sticky, I'm just going to toss some of that loose flour into the machine and onto the dough so that we reduce stickiness. So the first time I'm going to go through here once or twice. If I don't feel like it's kneaded very well, what I can do is I can gather it up a couple of times and sort of re-knead it. But I do need to be careful because if I get air pockets, it's going to leaf into. I mean, again, that's a good country noodle, but it's a. All right. And then there's marks on here, and you basically step all the way down from 1 to, they're usually marked to about 10 or 11. And you stop, you can go as thin as you want, but you usually stop at about 3, 2. 1 is super crazy thin. It's a little too thin for most things. You can create ravioli sheets this way also. So you can thin it down into a sheet, and then you can do a fold over ravioli, or use a mold or a cookie cutter and make raviolis.
You always go through twice on each level?
I do, especially right now when I'm trying to, it takes it down a lot the first 2 steps, it goes thinner. And once I get this a little wider, I'm actually going to be able to, well, I'm going to do one more thing.
Trim it or no?
No, you don't trim it. What
Okay.
you can do early on,
Fold it.
you can fold it if you want to get a little nicer edge. I mean, you can trim it. You can fold it. This is going to give longer noodles, and it will thicken a little bit. It's going to be a little bit thin. It will press out and thicken a little bit, but mostly it's going to make it longer. So now, because it's thick again, I got to go back to 1. So this not only is thinning it, it's also part of the kneading process. And I do want to stretch. I want to stretch it in the same direction every time. I don't want to go back and forth. I actually went back to 1 because I just folded it.
1 is the widest.
So 1 is the widest.
Okay.
Always start on the widest.
So I think you said earlier something about
It goes 1 through 10.
10.
1 is the widest. Yeah, I'm sorry. And then not every machine I think is numbered the same either. So
yeah.
you can see the gap and wherever you start on the big side.
Yeah.
Just
Just not wanting to. Not wanting to hold your fold.
I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah, that's.
You got to go down pretty much 1 number at a time, yeah. You could skip, but the idea is you're not only stretching and thinning, but you're actually kneading it through this process. So, yeah, you want to go 1 number at a time.
Is Mom ready?
Oh, we're gonna have to wait a moment.
Getting close.
Getting close to.
Okay, and as this starts to get long, it becomes difficult to handle. We got a couple of tricks. So you can use 2 people. Another trick you can do is get a little water here.
Are you gonna connect them?
Yeah, you can connect them into a huge loop, and then you can get a couple
Keep
people. You can run it all the way across the room if you're careful. And now you can go a continuous loop, which is easy. Just keep a little idea. Reminds you of those super sanitary old hand rollers. actually tried to dry their hands. A little scary, but possibly a little different. All right. So we're down to 5. So we've gone from 1 to 5, and we're going to probably go down to 6 or 7. And you can go as wide as this machine will go. It will thicken, spread a little bit, but not much. So we shouldn't run into the edges. Down to 6. The last one we do, we might run it twice, and that's just to see if we get any stretch. Make sure we get a true size on it.
Mike, where's the bag? Oh, got him.
You do have not a lot of restaurants, but there are still specialty restaurants, fine dining restaurants, few Italian restaurants that will run specials, and they will make a fettuccine or a ravioli dough, and they will do this every day. They will continue to make fresh pasta. Most places don't because it costs a lot of time.
We're getting there.
Paying people,
Keep it closed.
but it makes a nice item. All right, we're going to go down to 7. I think that's plenty thin. Again, this is going to double in size when the water gets in it, so it's always a lot thicker than you think.
You got a couple
And
antsy
if
to do.
you get really excited about it, you can buy the big $1,000 one. It has a motor on it, and you just have to guide it. If you're doing this all day and you're doing lots and lots of pounds, you can get serious about it. There are ways around it. All right, so my next option when I get ready to cut these, I can either cut these into foot-long sections, and I can run them through my cutters, or I can run a long section, just kind of pull off pieces of it. You can make lasagna that's a little thin for lasagna, but you could use this to lay in for your lasagna sheets. It's the same thing. All right, this is going to go the opposite direction. So you pull the handle out, runs the opposite direction. This is a fettuccine type cut. All right.
It's coming. Do you want a kid to help pull it out from under
You
there?
want to pull a handful of that? Just pull it right off.
Pull it off or pull it
You
out?
can grab it. Pull all the way off. Perfect. We'll take out a nice handful or two, and then there you go. Pull that off. And what people do a lot of times for portioning it is, so you're going to use a little flour so it doesn't stick together. You may have seen these. This is called a nest. And you can see it dried sometime just for old time's sake, or in restaurants they'll actually have 1 nest, 2 nests, 3 nests for the portion size. And you can dry it or have it sitting like that. Now this is so soft, I would be careful once I wouldn't leave it in this condition in my refrigerator this thin. I would cook it in a couple hours because it will get all sticky. So you use a lot of flour around. That extra flour is just gonna fall off when it goes in the water. It's fine. Use a generous amount of water so your water doesn't get too gummy when it cooks. All right. So now we can go make some like spaghetti. This isn't quite angel hair. It's a nice like spaghetti size.
The other cutter?
Other cutter.
Okay. Oh yeah, those are nice and thin.
Yeah. So the reason I made this so fine and thin is because we want to do this really delicate.
Do you want flour on that one?
Yeah, we're gonna put flour on all of them, and I got a open
Dust
bag
it.
of flour.
They're taking it from the
You
table.
want to crank? I'll put it in and you go crank.
Something else is going on down there.
I did. Go the other direction. There we go. So you got three, 4 different shapes and sizes of pasta there. You got some nice thin little pastas. This will cook 1 minute, 30 seconds at those thin ones. It's in and out. You got to have it in a basket and ready to get it out before it overcooks. And I still have almost a third of my piece, and this is a half-pound piece. So making a pound of pasta will feed a family. It's pretty economical. So you can do 2 pounds of pasta and 1 chicken, probably feed half the neighborhood. So, appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
You want to help the kids do it?
Yeah, so we can.
Anybody have questions on the live show?
Somebody wants to practice with this piece.
Practice thinning it out.
Practice thinning it.
You're supposed to smooth it.
Here, put it.
No, I think you're still there.
Can we bring out our pasta?
Yeah, you can bring it home in any. If you want to make it into a thick noodle, we can help you hand cut them. You can bring it home as a piece, whatever you like to do.
Yeah, I want to.
And you can leave this pretty thick. You crank it. There you go. It's pretty thick.
Do you want to roll yours out? So what is? She needs some flour and
Yeah, so flour
A rolling
bags
pin.
over there. We got 5 more rolling pins. Got rolling pin here.
so I would put some flour on the table underneath so that you don't stick to the table.
Want to help me do mine then?
I'm gonna go through one more
Probably
time.
even a
to
little
get
more.
thick.
Yeah. Okay, you're probably good on that on top. Let's get some of it off and underneath. And then you a rolling pin. Oh,
2.
sorry guys, I'm multitasking, holding the camera and helping
Flour
kids.
on this, just in case we don't want it to stick.
There we go.
A little more flour.
Excuse me.
There we go.
Try cranking. and
Thanks,
that.
Imhai. These every time I notice a comment, it disappears. There it goes.
There you go.
Yeah, everyone's having fun. It looks like with the live feed here. So, and with the kids doing it in person, it's a pretty hard hand crank, huh?
Takes a little muscle, but it's a lot easier than doing it by hand.
You could do 2 hands if you need to. That helps.
Yeah. It'll get easier as it gets a little thinner, but right now it's thick. All right. So you can turn this from 2 to number 3.
Who wants to turn that on?
I think we're gonna go down to about number 5 with this one. We're gonna do a little thicker. Do a little thicker one that's gonna hold up.
Thank you for holding that.
So it's sort of a competition. Who can make the thinnest pasta? Who can make the thinnest ravioli? That's you can make a really awesome thin ravioli skin that doesn't stick. That's so you really taste the filling and it's not too chewy. That's where it's at. It's hard.
Without it
That's
breaking.
when you've arrived as a chef.
I have a chef friend who's really good, and he just makes the thinnest because these little lobster and shrimp stuffed raviolis. Has almost as much butter as seafood in it, and they just melt in your mouth. They cook in about 1 minute. They're amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you got to turn it slowly. There's a little notch, and they'll slide into. There you go.
Okay, so I'm thinking we'll probably end the live with the kids working on theirs.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. For the
Yeah,
moment.
unless anyone else has questions on the
Let's
live
stop
show.
For a moment, I'm going to link these together. Hold on for just a second. I want to glue these together. The way we glue flour is we glue it with water. Sometimes
It's like doing it with clay too.
Yep.
If you ever make a clay pot, you glue pieces together with water.
And then to make sure we don't stick, you get a little handful of that flour and let's put it under here. I don't want it sticking in the. All right, go ahead. Now we can crank it.
Okay, guys, we're gonna cut off the live show here. We've been on for about an hour, and the kids are still making their pasta, and they're gonna keep going for a little while. So I guess we will be live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. at our regular show. You guys, thanks for joining in, and if you have questions, you think of questions later, you could join us at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday night, tomorrow night,
Last time around.
and we'll be chatting with our normal show. See you guys later. Bye.